Namaste Yatirajaya Vivekananda Surai Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Tapaharini. आज एउटा विशेष दिन स्वामीजी को महापरिनिर्वाण महासमाधि लिनुभएको दिन हो। जेनरली हामीले रामकृष्ण मिसनमा कुनै पनि महापुरुषको अथवा कुनै पनि साधु सन्तहरूको महासमाधि लिएको दिवस मनाउने चलन छैन। किन भन्दाखेरि जन्म दिवस चाहिँ मनाइन्छ, आविर्भाव दिवस भनेर हैन, तर लीला सम्वरण गर्नुभएको दिनलाई मनाउने चलन छैन। किनभने जसलाई हामीले परब्रह्म भनेर भनिन्छ, आत्मतत्व भनेर जसलाई हामीले मानिन्छ, फेरि मृत्युको पनि भयो भनेर यसरी त भन्न मिलेन। त्यसकारणले अब निर्वाण दिवस, महापरिनिर्वाण, महासमाधि भन्न त मिल्यो, त्यो राम्रो शब्द भयो। तर जेनरली मृत्यु दिवस मनाउने भनेको चाहिँ संसारमा जसरी मान्छेले बुझेको हुन्छन्, त्यो महासमाधि भएको दिवस मनाउने भन्दा जेनरल मान्छेको दिमागमा त्यो आइडिया नै हुन्छ कि अब सबै सकिएको दिन भन्ने त्यस्तो खालको कन्सेप्ट हुन्छ भनेर। यो खालि रामकृष्ण मिसनमा मात्रै होइन, वास्तवमा हाम्रो हिन्दू संस्कृतिमा कुनै पनि महापुरुषको मृत्यु दिवस मनाउने चलन चाहिँ छैन। तर आजको विशेष दिनको सम्झना गरेर स्वामीजीको महासमाधि भन्ने जुन च्याप्टर छ, लाइफ अफ स्वामी विवेकानन्द बाई हिज वेस्टर्न एन्ड इस्टर्न एन्ड वेस्टर्न डिसाइपल्स, त्यसबाट केही अंश हामीले चाहिँ पढ्न सकिन्छ। Mahasamadhi. The last 2 months which the Swamiji passed on earth were full of events foreshadowing the approaching end. Though at the time these events passed unsuspected by those about him. भनेको त्यो अन्तिम 2 महिनामा स्वामीजीले अब महासमाधि लिनुहुन्छ, अर्थात् अथवा स्वामीजीले शरीर त्याग गर्नुहुन्छ भन्ने त्यस्तो कुनै आभास देखिँदैन थियो। Every trifling incident had its portent, and a host of associations had its portent, and a host of associations that throbbed with a peculiarly significant meaning. Some time after he had returned from Varanasi, the Swami greatly desired to see his sannyasi disciples and wrote to them to visit him, if only for a short time. The call went even to those beyond the seas. Some came, others busy at various centers could not avail themselves of what proved later to be the last opportunity of seeing their beloved leader, to whose cause they had dedicated their whole life and soul. And great indeed was to be their sorrow. Oh, if they had but known what the call had meant, they would have left everything to respond. भनेपछि स्वामीजीले आफ्नो सन्यासी डिसाइपल्सहरूलाई लेख्नु भएको पनि रहेछ, शिष्यहरूले एकचोटि भेट गर्ने इच्छा प्रकट गरेर। तर त्यसमा त्यो अन्तिम भेट हो भन्ने कुनै आभास चाहिँ त्यहाँ पनि। About this, Sister Nivedita has written, many of his disciples from distant parts of the world gathered round the Swami on his return to Calcutta. Ill as he looked, there was none probably who suspected how near the end had come. Yet visits were paid and farewell exchanged that it had needed voyages half round the world to make. त्यो भयो। अझै अलिकति अगाडि गएर पढ्दा ठिक होला। बेलुर मठ त्यो अलि 2 महिना अगाडि गरे नै रहेछ, धेरै लामो हुन्छ। फेरि अन्तिममा पुग्न सकिन्न होला। यो ठ्याक्कै सुरुमा के भएको थियो भन्ने कुरा हो। यो संस्कृत तर स्वामीजीको त्यो बेलामा स्वास्थ्य चाहिँ एकदमै बिग्रिसकेको थियो। 1901 बाट नै स्वास्थ्य चाहिँ बिग्रिसकेको थियो। त्यतिखेर बङ्गलादेश जानुभएको थियो, ढाका, त्यहाँबाट सिलाङ आउनु भएको थियो। जुलाई महिनामा हो सिलाङ आउनुभएको पनि, 19 होइन अप्रिल महिनामा सिलाङमा 27 अप्रिलमा लेक्चर पनि दिनुभएको थियो। अनि त्यसपछि गएर त्यहाँबाट कामाख्या माईको दर्शन गर्नुभयो। तर सिलाङमा आउँदाखेरि नै उहाँको स्वास्थ्य चाहिँ एकदमै डिटोरिएट भइसकेको थियो। त्यो पिक्चर पनि छ अहिले पनि, एकदमै बिरामी। 1901 मा अप्रिल महिनामा सिलाङमा, किनभने 27 अप्रिलमा त्यो क्विन्टन हल भन्ने थियो, क्विन्टन मेमोरियल हल, जुन अहिले विवेकानन्द कल्चरल सेन्टर बन्यो रामकृष्ण मिसनको, त्यो हलमा 27 अप्रिलमा उहाँले लेक्चर दिनुभएको। त्यो त रेकर्ड नै छ, त्यो रेकर्डेड नै छ। यो यो पढ्न सकिन्छ होला। 1 day about a week before the end, यो सिस्टर निवेदिताको उसबाट हो, यो निवेदिताको डायरीबाट, सिस्टर निवेदिताले लेखेको उसबाट। 1 day about a week before the end, the Swami told his disciples Shuddhananda to bring द बेङ्गाली होइन यो अझै 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 अलिकति एउटा एकदमै भयङ्कर इन्सिडेन्ट छ सिस्टर निवेदिताकै उसमा सम्झनामा त्यो पढ्दा राम्रो होला स्वामी ब्रह्मानन्द's डायरी From Swami Brahmananda's diary, we learn that Mr. Sakram Ganesh Dioskar, the sub-editor of Hitavadi, Calcutta, visited the mott on 15 June. In the afternoon and requested Swami to preside over a meeting, but he declined due to his bad health. सिस्टर निवेदिताको त्यो बेलामा सितको पनि एउटा इन्सिडेन्ट हुन्छ हो त्यो कुरा यहाँ छ होला कि Strangely enough, as day passed, the Swami felt more and more necessity of withdrawing himself from the task of directing the affairs of the mott अन्तिम समयमा in order to give those that were about him a free hand. How often, he said, does a man ruin his disciples by remaining always with them? When men are once trained, it is essential that their leader leave them, for without his absence they cannot develop themselves. When he spoke thus, it invariably caused pain to those who loved him. They felt that if he leaves the body, it would mean a terrible blow to the work. But there were times now in his deep meditation when Swami cared for nothing but infinite repose. Work and all other bonds were dropping off. More than ever, he withdrew himself from all outer concerns. Meditation became his great occupation. The master and the mother were constantly in his mind. A high mother भनेको divine mother. A high spiritual mood has come over him, and he was making ready for death. His austerity and meditation, the memory was constantly haunted by the prophecy of Sri Ramakrishna that Naren would merge in Nirvikalpa Samadhi at the end of his work, when he would realize who and what he really was and refuse to remain in the body. Not long before his departure, writes Sister Nivedita, some of his brother monks were one day talking over the old days, and one of them asked him quite casually, "Do you know yet who you were, Swamiji?" His unexpected reply, "Yes, I know now," awed them into silence, and none dared to question him further. Everything about him in these days was so deliberate and full of meaning that it seemed strange that no one apprehended the true import. They must have been deceived by the Swami's cheerful bearing and the fact that since the beginning of June he seemed to have become himself again. अर्थात् स्वामीजीले इन्डिकेसनहरू त सबै अटोमेटिकली दिइराख्नु भएको थियो होइन। कसैले सोद्धाखेरि, एकजना ब्रदर डिसाइपलले सोद्धाखेरि, अब किनभने श्रीरामकृष्णले भन्नुभएको थियो जुन दिन नरेनले आफ्नो स्वरूप भनेको ऊ कहाँबाट आएको हो त्यो थाहा पाउँछ, त्यो दिन त्यसपछि ऊ धेरै दिन यो संसारमा रहन्न भनेर भन्नुभएको थियो। त्यसपछि गएर फेरि अब त्यसरी सोद्धाखेरि स्वामीजीले अब मलाई थाहा भयो भनेर भन्नुभयो स्वामीजीले। त्यस्तो इन्डिकेसनहरू चाहिँ आइरहेको थियो। फेरि स्वामीजीले आई विल नेभर लिभ 40 अप टु 40 भनेर पहिले पनि भनिरहनु भएको थियो। त्यसपछि गएर फेरि अर्को कुरा काश्मीरमा जुन घटना भयो नि, यो 4th of July भन्ने कविता त काश्मीरमै लेख्नु भएको, तर काश्मीरमा स्वामीजीले खीर भवानीको दर्शन गर्दाखेरि खीर भवानीको मन्दिर अहिले पनि त्यही छ। त्यो कश्मीरमा अस्ति काश्मीरको मुख्यमन्त्री उमर अब्दुल्ला अस्ति गएर खीर भवानीमा पूजा गरे नि। अनि त्यसको 2-4 दिनपछि फेरि उहाँको बाबा पनि के नाम अरे फारुक अब्दुल्लाले पनि पूजा गर्नुभयो। पहिला उमर अब्दुल्लाले पूजा गर्नुभयो एकदम विधिवत पुरै शास्त्र मन्त्र पाठ सहित एज ए मुख्यमन्त्री। अनि फारुक अब्दुल्ला त पहिलाको मुख्यमन्त्री, अनि फारुक अब्दुल्लाले पनि हालैमा गएर पूजा गर्नुभयो नि। अनि त्यो मन्दिर चाहिँ एकदमै भग्नावशेष, पटक पटक जुन इस्लामिक इन्भेडरहरू थिए उनीहरूले त्यो मन्दिर तोड्ने प्रयास गरेको रहेछन्, सोमनाथको मन्दिर जस्तै। अनि स्वामीजी त्यो मन्दिरको उसमा बसेर प्राङ्गणमा अगाडि देवीको अगाडि, खीर भवानी देवीको अगाडि बसेर जब ध्यान गरिरहनु भएको बेलामा स्वामीजीको मनमा त्यो विचार आउँछ कि यदि त्यो बेलामा म हुन्थे भने यो अवस्था मैले, हे माता, यदि त्यो बेलामा म हुन्थे भने, जुन बेलामा मुस्लिम इन्भेडरहरू भारतवर्षमा आक्रमण गरिरहेका थिए, त्यस बेलामा म हुन्थे भने चाहिँ मैले यस्तो हुन दिन्थिनँ। यो मन्दिरमा तपाईँको उसमा चाहिँ यसरी बारम्बार आक्रमण हुन मैले दिन्थिनँ भनेर स्वामीजीको मनमा त्यो विचार आउँछ। त्यही बेलामा स्वामीजीलाई देवीको आकाशवाणी हुन्छ कि हे वत्स, तिमीले मेरो रक्षा गर्छौ कि मैले तिम्रो रक्षा गर्छु भन्ने त्यो स्वामीजीको एउटा रियलाइजेसन जस्तो हुन्छ कि, किनभने अहिलेसम्ममा त स्वामीजीले यो पुरै संसारमा कर्म गरिराख्नु भएको थियो नि त, पुरै एकदम रजोगुण र सत्वगुणले युक्त भएर संसारको कल्याणको लागि स्वामीजीले कर्म गर्नुभएको थियो। अब कर्म गर्नको लागि केही न केही त कर्ता बुद्धि त हुन पर्यो। कर्ता बुद्धि काँचो म नभए पनि ठाकुरले जुन भन्नुहुन्छ म भक्तको म, या म त्यो म ज्ञानको म, त्यो भए पनि हुन पर्यो नि त। त्यो भएन भने त कर्म त हुँदैन होइन। स्वामीजीको म त काँचो म त थिएन अरू मान्छेको जस्तो अहङ्कार म, तर ज्ञानको म त थियो। ठाकुरले भन्नु शङ्कराचार्यले ज्ञानको म राख्नु भएको थियो, कसैले ब्रह्मज्ञानपछि भक्तको म राख्छ, त्यसरी कर्म गर्छन्। तर त्यो पनि अब हराएर, किनभने संसारमा एक्जिस्ट हुनको लागि त म त रिटेन नगरिकन त हुँदैन। तर त्यो पनि अब नरहने जस्तो अवस्था, त्यस्तो अवस्था अब त्यो ज्ञानीको म पनि डिजल्भ हुने जस्तो अवस्था हो नि त। अब किनभने अब माताले नै सबै कुरा गर्नुहुन्छ भने सबै कुरा गर्ने त माता नै हो। म त एकदमै म त अकर्ता हो। त्यसो भने मैले त के गर्ने पर्दैन। यो संसारलाई चलाउने त जगत जननी माता नै हो भन्ने त्यो रियलाइजेसन त थियो। तर त्यो यति धेरै डिपन भयो कि त्यसपछि स्वामीजी त कुरा गर्नु पनि बन्द गर्नुभयो। त्यसपछि बेलुर मठमा आएपछि झन्डै 1-2 महिना कसैसित धेरै कुरै गर्नुहुन्थेन। त्यो स्वामी शिष्य संवादमा त्यो घटनाहरू रेकर्ड भएको छ। त्यो शरदचन्द्र चक्रवर्तीले लेखेको स्वामी शिष्य संवाद एकदमै इन्ट्रेस्टिङ किताब छ। त्यो कन्भर्सेसन स्टाइलमा एकदमै राम्रो छ। त्यसमा स्वामीजी कसैसित कुरा नगर्नु त्यो बेलामा। त्यसपछि त्यो अवस्था भएको थियो। त्यसपछि बल्ल शरदचन्द्र चक्रवर्तीसित चाहिँ कुरा गर्नुभयो त्यो उहाँको शिष्यसँग चाहिँ। अनि त्यो अवस्था भएको थियो। त्यही बेलामा नै काश्मीरमा त्यो 4 जुलाई के भन्छ टु द 4 जुलाई भन्ने कविता 4 जुलाई त्यो थियो 1897 तिर होला यो सायद। स्वामीजी 98 तिर 1898 किनभने 97 मा भारतमा आउनुभयो। त्यसपछि 98 मा सिस्टर निवेदिताहरू सबै त्यहाँ थिए। अमेरिकन डिसाइपलहरू पनि थिए। अनि त्यो ठाउँमा एउटा फ्ल्याग बनाउनु भयो झन्डा काश्मीरको के भन्छ यो अमेरिकन फ्ल्याग। त्यसपछि त्यो कविता लेख्नुभयो टु द 4 जुलाई भन्ने। अनि फेरि त्यो घटनासँग जोडेर एकजना हाम्रो उहाँको छोराले जोइन पनि गर्नुभएको थियो। सिङ्गापुर स्वामी रङ्गनाथानन्द महाराजको सेवक पनि हुनुहुन्थ्यो सायद। उहाँ अहिले उहाँ हिन्दीको एकदमै विद्वान। उहाँको छोराले जोइन गर्नुभएको थियो। स्वामी रङ्गनाथानन्द महाराजको सेवक पनि हुनुहुन्थ्यो। सिङ्गापुरमा पोस्टिङ हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ त्यसपछि छोडिदिनु भयो। किनभने सप्रू क्या चमनलाल सप्रू हो कि के हो उहाँ त्यो भक्तको नाम चाहिँ है। उहाँको छोराले जोड्नु। त्यो चमनलाल सप्रूले फेरि एउटा कुरा त्यहाँ जोड्नु भएको छ कि सायद त्यही पिरियडमा काश्मीरको एकजना सन्तको जन्म भएको थियो। भगवान गोपीनाथ भनेर अत्यन्तै मान्छन् काश्मीरी पण्डितहरूले। गोपीनाथ भगवान भनेर नै मान्छन्। उहाँले चाहिँ फेरि कसरी लेख्नु भएको छ भने उहाँ त अब रामकृष्ण मिसनको डिभोटी पनि हुनुभयो। यता काश्मीरी पण्डित भएको हुनाले भगवान गोपीनाथको पनि फलोवर हुनुभयो। रामकृष्ण मिसनको त एकदम डिभोटी नै इनिसिएटेड डिभोटी नै। उहाँसँग मेरो धेरैचोटि भेटघाट पनि भएको छ कि जम्मू आश्रममा पनि आएर बस्नु भएको छ काश्मीरमा पनि। उहाँले फेरि के भन्नुहुन्छ भने अब त्यो मिलाउनु भएको उहाँले अब कतिको हो यस्तो पनि हुनसक्छ कि भगवान गोपीनाथलाई स्वामीजीले आशीर्वाद दिनुभएको थियो भनेर त्यसमा उहाँले त्यो जोड्न। किनभने कुनै पनि महापुरुष यो जुन बेलामा जन्मिन्छ फेरि अरू महापुरुषहरू पनि त्यहाँ पुग्छन् आशीर्वाद गर्छन्। पौराणिक कथाहरूमा पढिन्छ नि त। त्यो जुन ठाउँमा भगवान गोपीनाथको जन्म भएको हो उहाँको घरको छेउमा टेलरको ऊ रहेछ कि सप टेलर सप दर्जीको पसल त्यसको उहाँको घरको छेउमै रहेछ। त उहाँको एउटा कल्पना अब यो त प्रमाणित गर्न त गाह्रो छ कि त्यही बेलामा सायद त्यही टेलरको सपमा अमेरिकाको झन्डा यसरी यसरी बनाउने भनेर सबै डिजाइन दिएर त्यहाँ स्वामीजी पर्खेर बस्नु भएको थियो। छिमेकीमा हल्ला भयो एकजना सन्त आएको छन् भनेर। अनि आउने बित्तिकै जस घरमा अब नवजात शिशु जन्मेको छ भने त हिन्दूहरूको एउटा के हुन्छ भने त्यो सन्तले मेरो छोरालाई आशीर्वाद गरोस् भन्ने त्यो चाहिँ मनमा हुन्छ। र त्यस्तै प्रकारले सायद उहाँको आमा बुवाले पनि भगवान गोपीनाथलाई चाहिँ स्वामीजीको अगाडि ल्याउनु भयो होला। पक्कै पनि स्वामीजीले आशीर्वाद गर्नुभयो होला भनेर त्यसरी पनि जोड्नु भएको छ कि काश्मीरमा त्यो फ्ल्याग बनाउने त्यसरी। अनि त्यसपछि त्यो कविता पनि त्यही लेख्नुहुन्छ, टु द 4th of July। अनि त्यहाँ अब मनाइन्छ सानो आकारमा, होइन। त्यसपछि त्यो खीर भवानीको घटना हुन्छ। त्यसपछि स्वामीजी आउनुहुन्छ यता बेलुर मठ। अनि यो on June 6 Swami went to Bada Juguli। यो भयो। On June 6 the Swami went to Bada Jaguli, a village in the Nadia district of Bengal, at the earnest request of his disciple Sri Mrinalini Bose, Srimati Mrinalini Bose. His disciple Bengal, at the earnest request of his disciple Srimati Mrinalini Bose, a letter returned to whom has been quoted in earlier. He stayed at her house for about a week and returned to Math on June 12. Returned to Math on June 12. About his journey, the Swami wrote to Christine, Sister Christine, on June 14. As for me, I am much stronger than before, and when even miles of jolting in a bullock cart and a railway travel of 34 miles together did not bring back the dropsy on the feet, I am sure they are not going to return. But anyway, it is the mud that suits me most just now. On the same day, Swami wrote about his Japanese friend and Abhayananda to Mrs. Bull. Okakura के नाम हो, जापानिज फ्रेन्ड पनि त्यहाँ बुद्धिस्ट आउनुभएको थियो, आउँछ। I am so. The rest are all right. Margot भनेको निवेदिता is in the hills. Okakura हो। Okakura came back to town and is a guest of Mr. Tagore, Surendranath Tagore. He came to the Math one day, but I was away. Hope to see him soon and learn his next moves. The above revered Oda has not yet replied to his proposals. I am sorry. Young Hari had an attack of fever here, came round in a few days, and has gone with Okakura for a few days. He is liked by everybody for his religious nature. He has great ideas of sexual purity, and his ambition is to start a fresh band of monks in Japan, Okakura, conforming strictly to chastity. But in my opinion, a race must first cultivate the great respect for motherhood through the sanctification and inviolability of marriage before it can attain to the ideal of perfect chastity. हिन्दू धर्ममा त त्यही छ नि, डाइरेक्ट मोनास्टिकमा त्यही छैन नि, किनभने बुद्धिज्ममा मेन एम्फेसिस मोनास्टिक लाइफमा छ। क्रिस्चियनिटीको पनि वास्तवमा भन्यो भने मेन एम्फेसिस मोनास्टिक लाइफ नै हो। क्रिस्चियन भनेको क्याथोलिकहरूको पनि इट्स अ काइन्ड अफ मोनास्टिक रिलिजन। तर हिन्दू धर्ममा दुईटै छ, प्रवृत्ति मार्ग पनि छ, निवृत्ति मार्ग पनि छ। गृहस्थहरूको लागि प्रवृत्ति मार्ग, सन्यासीहरूको लागि निवृत्ति मार्ग। वेदले दुईटा दुईटा मार्गलाई नै इक्वल इम्पोर्टेन्स दिन्छ कि स्वामीजीको पनि छ नि, इच इज ग्रेट इन हिज ओन प्लेस। त्यस कारणले हिन्दू धर्मभित्र त्यति धेरै करप्सन आएन, जुन चाहिँ बुद्धिज्मको माध्यमबाट आयो, तन्त्रमा आयो, बुद्धिज्मको माध्यमबाट तन्त्रमा आयो, वामाचारहरू त्यस्तो धेरै आयो। किनभने स्वामीजीको भनाइअनुसार नि बुद्धिज्ममा के भयो भने जब बुद्ध आउनुभयो सन्यास मार्गलाई बढी नै एम्फेसिस भयो त्यो बेलामा, र सबै वान टु अल सन्यासी बन्यो कि योग्य अयोग्य सबै त्यो एउटा होडबाजी नै चल्यो। त्यसले गर्दा के भयो भने अयोग्य व्यक्तिहरू पनि सन्यासी भएपछि त्यो प्योरिटी त मेन्टेन गर्न सकेनन्। पछि गएर बिस्तारै सन्यास धर्म त रह्यो तर त्यसभित्र करप्सन आउँदै गयो। तर हिन्दू धर्ममा के छ भने गृहस्थको लागि छुट्टै बाटो छ, सन्यासीहरूको छुट्टै बाटो छ, तर दुईटै बाटो आफैमा इच इज ग्रेट इन हिज ओन प्लेस। त्यो चाहिँ हिन्दू धर्मको मान्यता हो। स्वामीजीको लेक्चरमै, कर्मयोगको लेक्चरमै छ, त्यही भन्नुहुन्छ नि त स्वामीजीले। म्यारेजको जुन इन्स्टिट्युसन छ त्यसलाई पनि नबिगारिकन मातृभावको डेभलप गरेर भनेको महिलालाई माताको रूपमा हेर्ने, त्यो डेभलप भएपछि जब त्यसपछि सन्यास धर्मको कुरा आउँछ भन्ने कुरा यहाँ आउँछ। त्यही भएर सन्यास धर्मको लागि वेदान्तमा त्यो अधिकारीवाद भन्ने कुरा थियो नि त। को रियल अधिकारी को त्यसको लागि होइन, पुरै यो समाधि षडसम्पत्ति यो सबै हुनुपर्छ भन्ने कुराहरू छ नि त। त्यो भयो भने बल्ल उसले चाहिँ सन्यास धर्ममा प्रवेश गर्ने। तर सन्यास धर्म सबैको लागि थियो फेरि, तर स्टेप बाई स्टेप थियो नि त। किनभने ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रमबाट गृहस्थमा प्रवेश गर्ने, गृहस्थबाट वानप्रस्थी अनि सन्यास त वास्तवमा सबैको लागि, मोक्ष त सबैको लागि हो। त्यही भएर सन्यास धर्ममा त जानै पर्यो, तर स्टेप बाई स्टेप जाने कि सिधै ब्रह्मचर्यबाट जाने भन्ने कुरा हो। त्यस कारणले त्यो गृहस्थ धर्मलाई पनि इक्वल इम्पोर्टेन्स दिएको थियो। अनि त्यसपछि वानप्रस्थी अनि सन्यास त्यो सबैको लागि, त्यो त इक्वली हो। तर डाइरेक्ट ब्रह्मचर्य आश्रमबाट सन्यासमा जाने जुन त्यो चाहिँ बुद्धिज्ममा, त्यो स्वामीजीले भन्नुभयो त्यो म्यारेजको जुन ऊ छ त्यसलाई पनि उ गर्नु हुँदैन। हो यो motherhood through sanctification and inviolability of marriage before it can attain to the ideal of perfect chastity. I wanted, the Swami must have been pained to learn around this time about the out of Nivedita. From Swami Brahmananda's diary, we learn that Mr. Sakram Ganesh Dioskar, the sub-editor of Hitavadi, Calcutta, visited Math on June 15 in the afternoon and requested the Swami to preside over a meeting, but he declined due to his bad health. Nivedita, now anxious to start her school, left Mayavati for Calcutta. त्यतिखेर मायावतीमा हुनुहुँदैछ निवेदिता। मायावती हाम्रो धनगढीबाट एकदम नजिक छ। हाम्रो धनगढी एयरपोर्टबाट 3 घण्टामा मायावती आश्रम पुगिन्छ आफ्नै गाडी भयो भने। On June 20, left Mayavati for Calcutta on June 20. By this time, a house had been secured for her at 17 Bospada Lane of Bagh Bazar, Calcutta. Christine also wished to go to wished to go with Nivedita to Calcutta and help her in the work. But the Swami had written to her on June 15, "I'll be very anxious if you are in Calcutta at Bagh Bazar. I am slowly recovering. Stay with Mrs. Xavier as long as you can." मायावतीमा उहाँहरूले नै बनाएको हो नि त मायावती आश्रम, मिसेस मिस्टर त्यो होला. Don't come down with Margot. And a week later, he again wrote to her, "You have not the least cause to be anxious. I am getting on anyhow and am quite strong. As to diet, I find I have to restrict myself and not follow the prescription of my doctor to eat anything I like. The pills continue, however. No anxiety on the score of Mary Louis' arrival in Calcutta. Abhayananda. She has not yet made any noise. Things go on the same. Bagh Bazar, I am trying to go to Monghir, a place near to Calcutta and said to be um, very celebrant. We will think of your coming to Bagh Bazar after Nivedita has fairly started. Till then, keep quiet and lay on food. Acha. One day, about a week before the end, the Swami told his disciple, Swami Shuddhananda, to bring the Bengali almanac to him. अब यहाँबाट सुरु हुन्छ मेन. On getting it, he turned over several pages, beginning at that day, and kept it in his room. He was seen several times on subsequent days studying the almanac intently, as if undecided about something he wanted to know. Only after his passing was the significance of this understood by his brother monks and disciples. Then they realized that he had been searching an auspicious day on which to throw off the bondage of the body, and the day he chose of all others was the 4th of July. त्यो इन्डिकेसन गरिरहेका तिमी रेडी भएर बस म भनेपछि मात्रै गर है, पहिल्यै नगर. त्यो पहिल्यै स्वामीजीले 4th of जुलाईलाई त्यहाँ पात्रोमा इन्डिकेट गरेर राख्नु भएको रहेछ, जुन पछि थाहा लाग्यो. अब नजिक आउँदैछ दिन. On June 28, Sister Nivedita arrived at Calcutta from Mayavati. On June 26, he took her lodging at 17 Bospada Lane, Bagh Bazar. Swami Saradananda received her and gave her a deerskin mat, Mriga Charma, as a present from Swami. Nivedita was glad to hear from him that the Swami was happy over her coming. She was eager to start her work and had brought with her some equipment for the purpose. यो कन्याहरूको लागि स्कुल सुरु गर्नको लागि निवेदिता त्यो बाग बजारबाटै सुरु भएको. त्यो निवेदिता अहिले त रामकृष्ण के भन्छ शारदा मठै छ त्यहाँ, र निवेदिता स्कुलै छ त्यो ठाउँमा. त्यहाँ म एकचोटि भिजिट गरेको छु कि बाई चान्स. जेनरली हामी त त्यहाँ भिजिट गरिन्न, तर एउटा कुनै कारणवश एकचोटि त्यहाँ म भिजिट गरेको छु. होस्टेलको केटाहरूलाई लिएर गएको थिएँ सिलाङबाट। अनि हाम्रो गाइड एकजना त्यही बेङ्गली हुनुहुन्थ्यो। अनि उहाँले त्यहाँबाट त्यो सम्बित भन्ने पत्रिका लिन रहेछ। अनि हामी म र अर्को एकजना सपनमा रहेछ, बित्नुभयो अहिले। उहाँ हामी दुईजना बाहिर उभिँदै थियौँ। त्यहाँबाट उहाँभित्र पत्रिका लिन जानुभएको रहेछ। अनि भित्रबाट माताजीले चाहिँ होइन स्वामीजीलाई पनि लिएर आउनुहोस् भनेपछि हामी भित्र गएर एकछिन त्यो उसमा बैठकमा त्यो बैठक कोठामा एकछिन बस्यो, प्रसादहरू खाइयो अनि आएको त्यो बेलामा। त्यो सिस्टर निवेदिता स्कुल अहिले छ शारदा मठको अन्डरमा। त्यस निवेदिताले नै सुरु गरेको त्यो बेलामा त्यही ठाउँ हो त्यो बागबजार उद्बोधन त्यसैको नजिक नजिकमा हो। शारदा मठको त्यो अहिले शारदा मिसनले नै चलाइराखेको छ। अच्छा, on June 28, when Nivedita was preparing to go to the mart to see the Swami, he received a note that he himself was coming to the city for some business, Swamiji, and would see her. Accordingly, Swami arrived at her residence about 9 in the morning and went over the whole house, explained everything, examined everything. School बनाउनको लागि सायद केही होला. He then sat down on his own rug, आफ्नै आसनमा, and played with some Lucknow figures. Lucknow figures. यो के रहेछ यसलाई पछि लखनऊ फिगर्सको फुटनोटमा होला. Perhaps some sort of school equipment which she might have got from Lucknow on her way from Mayavati to Calcutta. Yeah. तिमीले जब गर है, अझ म भन्छु अलिकति टाइम होइन जब गरिरह, पङ्खा चल्नु थियो, म भनेपछि बल्ल यो कम्प्लिट गर्नुपर्ने छ कि. 5-10 मिनट लाग्छ अझ. यो भयो लखनऊ. She had brought. He expressed delight on seeing the microscope, magic lantern, and camera, and told her to bring the microscope to the mart the next day. Then he asked Nivedita about her plans, and she told him that she wished to do university settlement work rather than the school. To this he said, "All right." As he was departing, Nivedita said, "Swami, you must come back and bless the work." "I am always blessing you," he responded. On the same day, Swami went to sister's house on invitation with several others, mainly to settle the long-drawn dispute over the ancestral property. आफ्नो बहिनीको होला. They reached an amicable settlement by compromise. The attorney of the opposite party confirmed the conditions, and the matter was decided to the satisfaction of both parties. Swamijiको ancestor house त रामकृष्ण मिसनकै अन्डरमा छ. About these incidents, Nivedita wrote to Miss MacLeod on August 7. अच्छा यो भयो. He left everything in order. On Sunday, June 29, he told me that the lawsuit with the family that had been hanging over him for 3 years was compromised by them voluntarily in his favor, and he was satisfied at last. It was the same with everything. Here I am on my feet. He blessed the house and the work and me, everything. Sister Nivedita went to Mott on June 29, on the morning of June 29, stayed there till evening, talked a great deal with the Swami. About her meeting with him, she wrote in the same letter. In the afternoon, he grew very cross, being tired, and I cried bitterly. Then he gave me a beautiful blessing, holding my head and blessing me twice. In that caressing way, I only asked him to tell me when he doubted, or disapproved, not to make up his mind apart from me. Oh, I am sure he will that day. I think I must have told you, he said. A great tapasya was coming over him. Had I not been there at near noon, he would still have been in the chapel. He felt that the death was drawing near, and at these words the gecko cried. 3 days before his passing away, as the Swami was walking up and down on the spacious lawn of the monastery in the afternoon with Swami Premananda, he pointed out to a particular spot on the bank of the Ganga and said to his brother monk gravely, "When I give up the body, cremate it there." On that very spot stands today's temple in his honor. स्वामीजीले 3 दिन अगाडि त्यो जग्गा पनि भनिदिइसक्नु भएको रहेछ. Sister Nivedita, introducing many significant facts in connection with the Swami's passing away and his foreknowledge of it, writes Sister Nivedita. When June closed, however, he knew well enough that the end was near. I am making ready for death, he said to one who was with him on Wednesday before he died. A great tapasya and meditation has come up upon me, and I am making ready for death. And he who did not dream that he would leave us till at least some 3 or 4 years had passed, knew nevertheless that the words were true. News of the world met but a far away rejoinder from him at this time. Even a word of anxiety as the scarcity of the rains seemed almost to pass him by as in a dream. भनेको बाहिरी कुराहरूसित अब बिस्तारै उहाँको हुन छोड्यो. It was unless to ask him now for an opinion on the question of the day. You might be right, he said quietly, but I cannot enter any more into the matters. I am going down into death. Once in Kashmir, after an attack of illness, I had seen him lift a couple of pebbles, saying, "Whenever death approaches me, all weakness vanishes. I have neither fear nor thought of the external. I simply busy myself making ready to die. I am as hard as that." And the stone struck one another in his hand. For I have touched the feet of God. Personal revelation was so rare with him that these words could never be forgotten. Again, on returning from the cave of Amarnath in that same summer in 1898, he had he not said laughingly that he had there received the grace of Amarnath, not to die till he himself should will to do so. अमरनाथ शिवबाट उहाँले चाहिँ इच्छा मृत्युको वरदान पनि पाउनु भएको थियो. Now this seeming to promise that death would never take him by surprise. सबै प्लान गरेर स्वामीजीलाई अचानक मृत्यु आएन कि स्वामीजीले सबै प्लान गरेर भीष्म पितामहले जस्तो यो दिन शरीर छोड्छु भनेर सबै प्लान गरेर गर्नुभएको थियो भन्ने कुरा. And we may wait for that, said the monk who told me the tale. We shall know when the time is near, for he will tell us that again he has tasted his mango. How strange it seems now, looking back on that time, to realize how many ways the expected hint was given, only to fall on cars that did not hear, to reach mind that could not understand. The cars ears printing mistake रहेछ कि यो डिजिटल ears that did not पहिला पनि त्यस्तै एउटा दुईटा थियो ears that did not hear, to reach minds that could not understand. अच्छा, it would seem indeed that in his withdrawal from all weakness and attachment there was one exception, that which had ever been dearer to him than life kept still its power to move it. It was the last Sunday before the end that he said to one of his disciples, "You know, the work is always my weak point. When I think that might come to an end, I am all undone." On Wednesday, July 2nd of the same week, the day being Ekadasi, and himself keeping the fast in all strictness, he insisted on serving the morning meal to the same disciple, that is Sister Nivedita. This is very significant. Is this as it was offered? Boiled seeds of the jackfruit, boiled potatoes, plain rice, ice cold milk formed the subject of playful chat. And finally, to end the meal, he himself poured the water over the hands and dried them with a towel. सिस्टर निवेदितालाई खाइसकेपछि चुठाउनलाई स्वामीजीले आफैले पानी दिनुभयो र आफैले त्यो टावेलले हात पुछिदिनुभयो. त्यो यो घटना त्यसपछि सिस्टर निवेदिताले भनेको कुरा आउँछ. It is I who should do these things for you, Swamiji, not you for me, was the protest naturally offered. But his answer was startling in its solemnity. Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. Christ, something checked the answer. But that was the last time. As it rose to the lips and the words remained unuttered, this was well, for here also the last time had come. There was nothing sad or grave about the Swami during these days. In the midst of anxiety about over fatiguing him, in spite of conversation deliberately kept as light as possible, touching only upon the animals that surrounded him, his garden experiments, books, and, and absent friends. Over and beyond all these, one was conscious that while the luminous presence of his bodily form seemed only as a shadow or symbol, never had one felt so strongly as now. Before him, that one stood on the threshold of an infinite light, yet none was prepared, least of all on that last happy Friday, July 4th, on which he appeared so much stronger and better than he had been for years, to see the end so soon. One day, on the day of Mahasamadhi itself, whether consciously or intuitively, his actions were most deliberate and full of meaning. His solitary meditation for 3 hours in the morning from 8 to 11 was the most striking. 3 घण्टा त्यो दिन ध्यान गर्नुभयो. He rose rather early that day, and after uh, most Mahasamadhi, whether consciously or intuitively, his actions were most deliberate and full of meaning. His solitary meditation for 3 hours in the morning from 8 to 11 was the most striking. He rose rather early that day, and after partaking of his tea, entered the chapel of the monastery. After some time, it was noticed that he had closed all the windows and bolted all the doors. What transpired there, no one will ever know. In his meditation, his own master and the Divine Mother, to his own realization, one and the same personality must have been present, for when he had finished, he broke forth in a touching song in which the highest jnana mingled with the highest bhakti. स्वामीजीले श्रीरामकृष्णलाई महाकालीको अवतार ठान्नुहुन्थ्यो के उहाँले आफूले स्वामीजीले ठाकुरलाई महाकालीको अवतार ठान्नुहुन्थ्यो. हजुर होइन पहिलेदेखि त्यो त पछि रिभिल हो. अनि मा शारदा देवीले पनि कालीकै अवतार भनेर जान्नुहुन्थ्यो, ठान्नुहुन्थ्यो भन्दा पनि जान्नुहुन्थ्यो भने पनि हुन्छ उहाँहरूको लागि. हामीले हेर्दाखेरि रामकृष्णलाई राम जो कृष्ण भएर आए त्यही रामकृष्ण भनेर हामीले त्यसरी बुझिन्छ. तर मा शारदा देवीले र इभन स्वामीजीले ठाकुरलाई कालीकै रूपमा जान्नुहुन्थ्यो, एकदम प्रत्यक्ष काली माताको रूपमा. माको जीवनीमा पनि त्यो कुराहरू आउँछ. हेरौँ त त्यो लेख्नु
ध्यान गरेको चाहिँ पुरानो मन्दिरमा होइन,
त्यतिखेर त नयाँ मन्दिर त होइन. स्वामीजीको त कोठा पनि छ नि, पुरानो मन्दिरको अपोजिटमा स्वामीजीको कोठा छ. हो यतापट्टि पुरानो मन्दिर छ, यतापट्टि स्वामीजीको कोठा छ. Descending the stairs of the shrine, he walked back and forth in the courtyard of the monastery, his mind withdrawn. Suddenly, the tenseness of his thought expressed itself in a whisper, loud enough to be heard by Swami Premananda, who was nearby. The Swami was saying to himself, if there were another Vivekananda, he would have understood what Vivekananda has done. And yet, how many Vivekanandas shall be born in time? This remark startled his brother disciple, for never did the Swami speak thus, except when the floodgates of his soul were thrown open and the living waters of the highest consciousness rushed forth. Another unusual incident took place when Swami, who was not in the habit of taking his food with his brother monks and disciples, dined with them in the refectory. refectory. Still more strange was his relish of food. He had never felt better, he said. This same Friday morning, यो सबै त्यही दिनको घटना हुँदैछ. This same Friday morning, he expressed a desire to have the Kali Puja performed at the monastery on the following day, that being an auspicious one for the worship of the mother. Soon after, Swami Ramakrishnananda's father, Sri Ishwar Chandra Chakravarti, a devotee, a devout worshipper of Kali, came. On seeing him, the Swami was delighted and explained his intention to him. He called Swami Shuddhananda and Bodhananda and instructed them to secure all the necessaries for the intended ceremony which they hastened to do. Of course, the Kali Puja could not be performed on the following day, Saturday, July 5, as he had wished. But from Sister Nivedita's letter on August 7, 1902, to Miss MacLeod, we learn that it was performed about a month later. She writes, three wishes which he expressed the very day he went. One, to do something to Japan, for Japan, a night's worship of the mother, which was carried out by the men last Saturday, August 2, and to see Mr. R.C. Datta, mm, which will surely bring them together somewhere in the universe. After instructing the disciples to make preparations for Kali Puja, the Swami asked Shuddhananda to fetch the Shukla Yajurveda from library. When the latter had brought it, Swami asked him to read the mantra beginning with the words Sushumna Surya Rasmi with the commentary on it. The disciple read the mantra together with the commentary. When he had finished a part of it, the Swami remarked, this interpretation of the passage does not appeal to my mind. Whatever may be the commentator's interpretation of the word Susumna, the seed of the basis of what the Tantras in later ages speak of as the Susumna nerve channel in the body is contained here in this Vedic mantra. You, my disciples, should try to discover the true import of these mantras and make original reflections and commentaries on the Shastras. The passage above referred to is the 40th verse in the 18th chapter of Madhyandina recession of Vajrayani Samhita of the Shukla Yajurveda and runs as follows. यो अहिले नपढौँ. At 1 p.m., a quarter of an hour after midday repast, the Swami entered the brahmachari's room and called them to attend the class on Sanskrit grammar. त्यो दिन स्वामीजीले संस्कृत पनि क्लास पनि लिनुहुन्छ. One who attended this class writes, the class lasted for nearly 3 hours, but no monotony was felt. For he, the Swami, would tell a witty story or make bonus notes now and then to lighten his teaching, as he was wont to do. Sometimes the joke would be with reference to the wording of certain aphorism, or he would make an amusing play upon its words, knowing that the fun would make it easier for recollection. On this particular day, he spoke of how he had caused his college friend Dasarathi Sanyal in English history in one night by following a similar process. He, however, reappeared. He, however, appeared a little tired after the grammar class. Sometime later, the Swami, accompanied by Swami Premananda, went out for a long walk as far as the Belur Bazaar and spoke with his brother disciples on many interesting subjects, particularly on his proposed scheme of founding a Vedic college in a monastery. यो वेद विद्यालय अनि अन्त युनिभर्सिटी पनि भइसक्यो. In order to have a clear understanding of what the Swami felt on the matter, Swami Premananda asked, what will be the good of studying Vedas, Swamiji? To this, the Swami replied, it will kill out superstitions. Returning to the mart, the Swami talked for a while with the monks. Oh, if they had but known that these were the last words they would ever hear from the lips of their dear and blessed leader, their all in all. As evening approached, the Swami's mind became more and more withdrawn, and when the bell for the evening service rang, he retired to his own room. There he sat in meditation, facing the Ganga. What occurred on that memorable day of the Swami's passing has been best told by some members of the order, and a few of these different versions are given below. थुप्रै छ यो. The read, हजुर होइन आरती गर्नु यो इम्पोर्टेन्ट हो. आरती हामी सबै आफै छौँ होइन यहाँ. अनि सबभन्दा ठुलो कुरा आरती त हाम्रो यसै पनि 7 बजेको टाइम हो. अहिले त 5:30 त भएको छ त्यस्तो. अनि दिन 7 बजेसम्म लामो छ, त्यही भएर त्यति फरक पर्दैन. विन्टरमा भएको भए चाहिँ राम्रै फरक पार्थ्यो. आज फरक पर्दैन, तर आजको दिन इम्पोर्टेन्ट हो नि त. यसलाई इन्कम्प्लिट छोडेर अर्को दिन पढेर फेरि यो मजा आउँदैन. यसको कुनै मतलबै हुन्न. यो भोलि पढ्यो भने यो गयो, यसको रेलेभेन्स सबै गयो. अनि अब यहाँ त अब धेरैले भनेको कुराहरू छ. अ मोनास्टिक डिसाइपल, यो बरु पढौँ. मोनास्टिक डिसाइपल राइट, सबैले भनेको नपढेर. The Maha Samadhi took place a few minutes after 9 p.m. यस्तो कुराहरूमा धेरै आत्तिन, मनलाई गराउनु हुँदैन कि. शान्त भएर त्यो बस्नु. ला आरती 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 त्यस्तो गर्यो भने के हुन्छ भने त्यो माइन्ड चञ्चल हुन्छ. त्यो अहिले त्यस्तो आवश्यक पनि छैन. अहिले त्यस्तो त्यो आत्तिन पर्ने आवश्यकता पनि छैन. The Mahasamadhi took place a few minutes after 9 p.m. यो टाइम यो त्यही भएर अरू थुप्रै छ, थुप्रै नपढेर एउटा त पढ्न पर्यो नि त, यो डाइरेक्ट आफ्नै मोनास्टिक डिसाइपलले भनेको कुरा। 9 p.m. The supper bell had just been rung when the inmates were called to see what had happened to the Swami. Swamis Premananda and Nischayananda began to chant aloud the name of the Master, believing that he might be brought to consciousness thereby. But he lay there in his room on his back, motionless, and the course proved fruitless. Swami Advaitananda asked Swami Bodhananda to feel the Swami's pulse. After a vain attempt, for a while he stood up and began to cry aloud. Swami Advaitananda then told Nirvayananda, "Alas, what are you looking at? Hasten to Dr. Mahendranath Majumdar of Badanagar, under whose treatment Swamiji was during these days, and bring him here as soon as you can." Another crossed the river and went to Calcutta to give information to Swami Brahmananda and Saradananda, who were there on that day, and bring them to Math. They arrived about 10:30. The doctor examined thoroughly, found life suspended, and tried to bring him back by artificial respiration. At midnight, the doctor pronounced life extinct. Dr. Majumdar said that it might have been due to sudden heart failure. Dr. Bipin Bihari Ghosh, who came from Calcutta the next day, said that it was due to apoplexy. But none of the doctors who came afterwards and heard of the symptoms could agree. Whatever they might say, the monks of the Math have the unshakable conviction that the Swami had voluntarily cast off the body in Samadhi when he did not want to remain any longer in the world, as predicted by Sri Ramakrishna. The यो भयो। अब यो त अब सबैको एकाउन्टहरू छ। त्यसपछि ल यो अब यो अलिकति लास्ट quietly to put the body down as a worn out garment at the end of an evening meditation. That will be a great death. I shall die. छैन ल अब ल अब यो चाहिँ हरि ओम तत्सत। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम तत्सत। श्री रामकृष्णार्पणमस्तु। के दिन हुन्छ कि अर्को दिन मनायो भने त्यसको कुनै अर्थ हुँदैन।